What's up, guys? How are you? Welcome into a Friday morning episode of the Daily Juice Podcast. My name is Matt Perrault. You guys can follow me across all of my socials at Sports Talk Matt. And happy Valentine's Day to whomever is going to be celebrating. I'll have a little thing to say about that here in just 1 second. But we're back after a winning day. Just a 1-0 mark, but Team USA gets going late in that game against Finland. They wind up winning the game 6-1. So they cover the puck line, so we get a unit there correct. So 1-0 on the day, up 1 unit, which pretty much puts us like inside of 1 unit. I think we're down like 0.5 or something, half a unit for the week. So we're right there for a Friday, Saturday, Sunday to have a winning week. Both Patrick Cantlay and Sam Stevens are in range to cash after 1 round. Patrick Cantlay's just outside the top 20, and Stevens as well is just outside the top 10. So long way to go, a lot of golf. We will play something most likely in that tournament heading into Sunday, but for right now, we'll just take those 2 top 20, top 10 bets and ride them a little bit here into the weekend and see how we wind up doing for the Genesis Invitational. So not a good start to the weekend, good start to that card. We'll see what happens today with the weather. Hopefully, Cantlay gets going. Stevens played well late in his round, so hopefully he keeps it rolling as he did there. So today is Valentine's Day, and I am fully aware that many of you are listening to this podcast with your family, daughters and sons, and you're on your way to school. I can't tell you how many people came up to me and said, hey, I listened to the Daily Juice, and one guy uses the juice to help talk about his kids with probability and math, which I found to be fascinating. Like, okay, I'm not always the strongest of math guys, so it's pretty cool to hear people using this podcast for math. And then that their dads are listening to this podcast or their brothers, or what I completely love and what I've always been blown away by is that this community that is the Daily Juice is so diverse, and there's so many unique and cool things you guys do with this podcast. Some of you guys love the podcast and listen to follow the place. Some of you guys hate me and you just want to fade everything I do. Some of you guys use it to connect with your brothers or sisters or grandfathers or dads or whatever, and you all have your own individual reasons as to why. So I say this with full knowledge that there could be a conversation or two that will be had after this statement. It's nothing bad, but I am not a very big Valentine's Day guy, okay? I never have been. For a long time on my radio shows across the country, I used to call this day Black whatever the day of the week was. So today would be Black Friday. And my theory or my reasoning behind that is that I feel like today is a day that if you don't do what you're supposed to do as a guy, that you somehow get a demerit. You somehow get knocked down if you don't do what you're supposed to do. And society is telling you what you're supposed to do. So I hope you and your significant other have a good enough relationship that you guys can come to some understanding as to what is expected. It stinks as a guy that this is expected. Women have told me forever, if there wasn't Valentine's Day, my guy wouldn't do X, Y, and Z. Well, for me, I've kicked that back and said, well, I should be doing it on March 4th and April 14th and June 26th. I shouldn't be doing it on February 14th. So because of that reason, I've always been sort of negative towards this day. But I am participating in this. Some of you guys know, and I went through a fairly significant life change a couple of years ago. I've been divorced for about 3 years now, and so I am flying to Boston today to go spend Valentine's Day with my girlfriend. So I'm doing that in Boston. So I'm getting on a plane at 11 o'clock Pacific time. I'm flying to Boston where we're going to go out to dinner, late dinner, but a dinner in the city and celebrate Valentine's Day. So I am 100% participating in this thing that I do not like, but I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing for our relationship. So I'm doing that. So I tell you that because I don't know what the podcast will look like for tomorrow, for Saturday. Obviously, a gigantic college basketball slate with number 1 versus number 2. We have to be involved with that. Like, that's just, we got to be involved in that game. Alabama, Auburn. The SEC has never seen it. We've never seen number 2 and number 1 play in SEC regular season play. So that's crazy. There's a multitude of other college basketball games that we have to get involved with. But flying, and then I'm going out to dinner, and our dinner reservation's at 9:15 Eastern time. So like dinner gets over like 11 o'clock. I'm going to be in no shape to tape the juice. Okay. Like I know. So I'm probably going to have to tape it before I get on the plane. So that means I'm taping early in the morning, and the numbers might wind up moving by the time I post the podcast. So I don't really know how Saturday is going to go. So Discord channel is going to be our friend. I'll be in the Discord channel. Most likely what's going to happen is I'm going to post this podcast. I'm going to post Friday. And then I'm going to post Saturday, like somewhere midday on Friday. Okay, somewhere like in the middle of the day. Or I'm going to have somebody at BettingPros post it for me later in the night. So that might also happen as I do the podcast. I may just say, hey, could somebody post this onto the YouTube channel for me at some point in the near future, later in the night. So maybe I'll do that. But the numbers might change for Saturday. So just FYI as to how this is going to go. So let's talk about today. So I have to do a parlay, okay? 1, it's Friday. 2, it was a running joke that make Matt bet more parlays because you guys know that I am the anti-parlay guy. But it's Valentine's Day. There is nothing good to bet on except one college basketball game with Indiana hosting UCLA that we'll talk about. The NBA is on the All-Star break. The Four Nations face-off has no games today. The games are tomorrow. There is there's no marquee game tonight in college basketball. So, and I'm not betting golf because we already bet golf. So there's not much. So we have to have some fun here. Okay. You can 100% ignore this, but on Valentine's Day, let's bet a 3-leg Valentine's Day correlated parlay. All right. Harvard, the Crimson on Valentine's Day, hosting Cornell. They're 6.5-point home dogs. Sacred Heart is at home hosting Quinnipiac. They are 3.5-point home dogs. And Marist, the Red Foxes, they are on the road. They're at Siena. They're catching 2.5 points on the road against Siena. So as we go through all of this and we look at what KenPom thinks for these games, Harvard, the Crimson, this, according to KenPom, is a 7-point loss. Okay, so it's 6.5. It's right there. We got a home team. I think we can kind of jump on that. I kind of like it. According to KenPom, Marist, it's a 2-point loss at Siena for Marist, 2.5 points. So we're kind of right there with a 0.5 point on Marist. And then Sacred Heart, according to KenPom, is Sacred Heart is a 2-point loss at home against Quinnipiac. So we're catching another 0.5 point of value. Well, actually 1.5 points of value there with Sacred Heart at plus 3.5. That is a plus 554 Valentine's Day parlay. Half a unit down on this. All dogs Valentine's Day correlated parlay because there's nothing to bet. So we got to do something fun here today. Harvard plus 6.5. Sacred Heart plus 3.5. And Marist plus 2.5. The Crimson, Sacred Heart, and the Red Foxes of Marist here tonight. Plus 554, half a unit play for the Valentine's Day Don't Bet Parlays parlay. There's a t-shirt you can go and buy in the BettingPros store by going to bettingpros.com/shop if you want to participate in the Don't Bet a Parlay parlays. I don't like parlays. They're losing wagers. It's a race to the bottom, but you guys just won't stop betting them. So every once in a while, I will participate and I will enjoy, or I will get involved with you. Not going to put heavy money down on it, but we'll throw half a unit down. Harvard, Sacred Heart, and Marist, 3-leg Valentine's Day parlay for a half a unit. One bet on the day, one full unit bet. Indiana basketball coming off of a huge win over Michigan State. They're at home catching 1.5 points from UCLA. These two programs first played in 1937, but they haven't played each other since 2007. They haven't played outside of the NCAA tournament in a regular season game since 1991. You know Indiana basketball fans, right? They're so knowledgeable. This is an awesome Friday night in Bloomington. This is going to be an unbelievable atmosphere with UCLA calling. Their tough defense, they get after it, but this is not I mean, we've already had moments where UCLA's been called out by Mick Cronin about being soft and just not being the team that they need to be. On the road, UCLA's been pretty good. I mean, they've lost at Rutgers, they lost at Maryland, and they lost at Nebraska. But since those losses, they're coming off a loss against Illinois, but they beat USC on the road and they beat Washington on the road. They've been playing a lot of home games, though. Home win against Penn State, home win against Michigan State, home win against Wisconsin, home win against Iowa. Back on the road off of a 83-78 loss to Illinois on the road in their last game on Tuesday, and now they're on the road up against Indiana, which is going to be a really tough game. They're 9-5 so far in Big Ten play. For Indiana, they're 6-8. But that win over Michigan State after the report came out that Mike Woodson is going to be retiring most likely at the end of the year. There was a 5-game losing streak and 7 of 8 losses that got snapped by that win over Michigan State. I think they got some momentum here. I think they're going to be able to win a close game. I really think this is going to be a win for Indiana, but I will take the 1.5 points. Hoosiers feeling good about themselves, getting a win at East Lansing, and then coming back home to the friendly confines. I'll take the 1.5. Indiana plus 1.5 at home against UCLA for 1.1 units. All right, so our plays for today on Valentine's Day. Harvard plus 6.5. Sacred Heart plus 3.5. Marist plus 2.5 is a plus 554 parlay. Shop around, find prices that are better if you want for a half a unit. And Indiana plus 1.5, minus 110 for 1.1 units at home against UCLA. My name is Matt Perrault. You guys can follow me across all of my socials at Sports Talk Matt every morning, wherever you guys get your podcast, even on Valentine's Day. It is the Daily Juice.